Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
This is a testimony of a young man that wondered if God still answers prayers. Subject: God whispering. A young man had been to Wednesday night Bible study. The pastor had shared about listening to God and obeying the Lord's voice. The young man couldn't help but wonder, does God still speak to people? After service he went out with some friends for coffee and pie, and they discussed the message. Several different ones talked about how God had led them in different ways. It was about 10 o'clock when the young man started driving home. Sitting in his car, he just began to pray. God, if you still speak to people, speak to me. I will listen. I will do my best to obey. As he drove down the main street of his town, he had the strangest thought. Stop and buy a gallon of milk. He shook his head and said out loud, God, is that you? But he didn't get a reply and started on toward home. But again he thought, buy a gallon of milk. The young man thought about Samuel and how he didn't recognize the voice of God, and how little Samuel ran to Eli. Okay, God, in case that is you, I will buy the milk. It didn't seem like too hard a test of obedience. He could always use the milk. He stopped and purchased the gallon of milk and started off toward home. As he passed the 7th Street, he again felt the urge. Turn down 7th Street. Gee whiz, this is crazy, he thought, and drove on past the intersection, not turning down 7th Street. But again, he felt that he should turn down 7th Street. At the next intersection, he turned back and headed towards 7th Street. Half jokingly, he said out loud, Okay, God, I will drive down 7th Street, although I don't know where to go. He drove several blocks when suddenly he felt like he should stop. He pulled over to the curb and looked around. He was in a semi-commercial area of town. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst of neighborhoods either. The businesses were closed and most of the houses looked dark, like people already in bed and asleep. Again he sensed something. Go and give the milk to the people in the house across the street. The young man looked at the house. It was dark. It looked like the people were either gone or they were already asleep. He started to open the door, got out and looked around. He said, and got back in the car. Then sat back in the car seat. Lord, this is insane. These people are asleep, and if I wake them up, they are going to be very mad and I will look stupid. I can't do this, Lord, please. Again, he felt like he should go and give the milk. Finally, he opened the door. Okay, God, if this is you, I will go to the door and I will give them the milk. If you want me to look like a crazy person, okay. I want to be obedient. I guess that will count for something, but Lord, if they don't answer right away, I'm gone, out of here. Then he walked across the street and rang the bell. He could hear some noise inside. A man's voice yelled out, Who is it? What do you want? The young man turned around and wanted to run, but then the door opened before the young man could get away. A big man was standing there in his jeans and t-shirt. He looked like he just got out of bed. He had a very strange look on his face, and he didn't seem too happy to have some stranger standing on his doorstep. What is it? The big man asked. The young man thrust out the gallon of milk. Here, I brought this to you. A very strange look appeared on the man's face as he took the milk and rushed down the hallway, speaking loudly in Spanish. Then, from down the hall came a woman carrying the milk toward the kitchen, also speaking out loudly in Spanish. The young man stood there in the doorway, surprised, because he did not know what was happening. Then the big man appeared following her, holding a baby. The baby was crying softly. The big man had tears streaming down his face and then started to speak while crying uncontrollably as he said to the young man, "We were just busy praying. We had some big problems this month and we ran out of money. We didn't have any milk for our baby. I was just praying and asking God to show me the way to get some milk." Then his wife in the kitchen yelled out, "And I asked God to send an angel to us with some milk. Are you an angel?" The young man reached into his wallet and pulled out all the money he had on him and put it in the man's hand. He turned around and started to cry while the tears were streaming down his face, for he knew that God still answers prayer.
She was called by God above. She's filled with abundant love, undaunted and always on the run. Wings of love. She will work for no reward. She will trust unto the Lord. The children